DevilNeverCry.
What is up, everybody? It is me, DevilNeverCry, and in this video, we are going to cheese the ever-loving hell out of Starscourge Radahn, everybody's favorite boss. And we're not going to be using it doing the infamous Dragon Breath incantation, which, by the way, is the incantation everybody's using to cheese things in this game because it is immensely powerful. But we're not using that for a couple of reasons. The first of which is I didn't actually have it at this point. The second of which is, of course, that actually requires you to attain a bunch of dragon hearts from killing a bunch of dragons, finding the Holy Dragon Communion Church, and of course, having the stats to use said spell, which are a couple of roadblocks there I circumvented, and we're going to use this strategy instead, which, simply put, allows us to somewhat time scam Radahn. We're going to be going for a good old gank fight, like we're back in Dark Souls 1, the fantastic Darkroot Basin, everyone's favorite place to PvP and just ruin people. So that's what we're going to be doing against Radahn. And you might be saying, well, surely it can't be that easy, you know, like what's going on? But in this 13-minute saga, you're going to see me do the absolute minimum that I possibly can and still defeat this boss. At times, you're even going to be seeing me throw in a couple of attacks. Don't even bother attacking this boss. You know, I even threw a bunch of poison jars at him in an attempt to poison him. Plot twist, that didn't work. Who saw that coming? And the attacks were unnecessary. Our main goal in this fight, and what you're seeing me do here, is consistently summoning all of the NPCs I can possibly find. And whenever they die, I'll go around the battlefield scurrying around, finding their summon sign to resummon them and throw them into the fray once more. And that is the general gist of the strategy. Now you're going to see Blythe, the half-wolf here, and Alexander the Great Jar, and those two NPCs are here specifically because of the Ranni questline, which I really suggest you go and follow, not only because you have the NPCs here, but because the questline gives you some cool gear, like Blythe's armor, and of course, the story and ending implications that the questline gives you are well worth it. So definitely check that questline out if you haven't already. But you might be wondering why I'm doing this, and I think it's because I just got fed up, if I'm honest. At this point in the game, when I'd taken down Rennala and Godric, two of the great bosses, two of the great runes down, I was feeling good about this build. Nothing had put up too much of a challenge, right? Nothing had put up too much of a challenge where I felt like I couldn't do it. And this was the first boss where I'd felt like I'd hit a roadblock, and it was a roadblock that I wasn't willing to stand down from. I didn't want to go away and, you know, farm materials to improve my weapons or, you know, continue on somewhere else so that I could level up. And also because I was genuinely interested in following this Ranni questline, which you need to defeat this boss to see the end of. So it was a case of dying, I want to say, 8 or 9 times attempting this boss legitimately, getting him to probably about 1/3 of his health down, and then being subsequently 1 or 2 shot. And then I just got to the point where I was fed up and I was like, right, this is just too much of a hassle. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play keep away with this boss. And it was at that point I realized that the NPCs that we summoned do a substantial amount of damage, and the fact that they are technically immortal, depending on how fast we can resummon them, it was like an epiphany. I'd realized that, hold on, this isn't a fight. I don't have to fight here. This is just this is just me playing host and summoning in a bunch of white summon signs, you know? And so that's what we're doing. The couple of dangers that there are here is when there's nobody and no NPC attacking him, and when he decides to engage you in the long range, which he'll have only a couple of options. He loves to do the Hadoken, the singular one, or the multiple meteors he loves to summon, the gravity wells, whatever you want to call them, which he loves to throw out when there's nobody engaging him in close range. In the mid-range, he loves to throw out his great bow attacks, where he rains down hell upon you, which again can be very dangerous. But again, he'll only throw these out if nobody is engaging him in the close range, if nobody's in his face attacking him. So if it gets to the point where all of the NPCs die and you're far away trying to find their summon signs, be very careful because he's targeting you and nobody else. But provided there's always at least somebody going on to attack him, you have free reign to run around the battlefield, make yourself a cup of coffee, you know, go out there, maybe get a haircut or something, and then, of course, go and find some summon signs. And in regards to the summon signs, of course, they're not going to be scattered all too far. As you're going to see here, we're going to stick to one specific corner of this map, which is a very expansive map, by the way. One specific corner of the map, and we're just gonna run around in a circle, you know. And this whole fight here that I'm showing you is very in touch with From Software and the Dark Souls series and Elden Ring in general, because it's all cyclical. I summon some NPCs in, they go in and attack, they die, and then the cycle begins anew. I summon them, they go in, they die, again and again and again. Except it's not an endless cycle, because we choose the Dark Lord ending, so to speak. We break the cycle with killing Radahn. But we're coming up almost here to the halfway point where things get a little bit tricky. And that is specifically because of his multi-meteor move, which can do a substantial amount of damage. It will one-shot you if you get hit by more than one of those meteors, which, let's be honest, you probably will if you're getting hit by them. And he just gains an overall buff in regards to his speed and just aggressiveness in his AI overall. And that's when the flip kind of switches in this boss fight, and you need to be a little bit attentive in regards to what you're doing. But again, provided you just continue the cycle of continuously summoning in some enemies, keeping your distance so he doesn't target you, you should be fine. And one of the things you can do to help alleviate this danger is whenever you see him summon those giant death meteors that hang in the air around him like a crystal soul mass, put a hill in between you and him. And you're going to see some hills in this battlefield, and you'll see me at some point strategically put myself behind some of them as we enter the second phase of his fight here. And they are going to do pretty much all the work in terms of avoiding the damage from these meteors, because they are a physical object that those things can't clip through, and so you should be fine. And you're going to see at this point, we've turned this boss into a joke. Like, at no point at this point did I feel all too in danger, you know? They're going down there, they're doing a decent chunk of damage, and they're just making the fight easy. The issue that I'd have with the Scarlet Breath, the Dragon Breath, is that it's an incantation with very limited range, should I say. So you're going to have to get right up in Radahn's face to use it, and then you're going to have to get the hell out of there. And, you know, more often than not, I've seen, now that I have this incantation and I've used it on some of the other bosses, a lot of times it's not a trade worth taking. You'll throw out the incantation. Most times they'll need 2 incantations to have Scarlet Rod afflicted on them. And at that point, I'll have taken a substantial amount of damage because they'll have hit me, because again, I'm in close range. And, you know, you can get one shot with this boss depending on, you know, your level. So I find this fight and this attempt and this strategy to be far, far safer, as you see Radahn there just going to town. You know, wonderful attack animations to look at from a distance, you know, when you're not being targeted. Amazing. But we stick on to Torrent, of course, and I suggest all of you who are attempting this boss stick to Torrent, because this boss is dangerous. But yeah, so far, again, this seems to be the first major roadblock in this game. And I know of another boss, thankfully, from somebody else telling me, who tends to enjoy these games, that there is at least 1 or 2 other bosses that are deemed incredibly hard on the level of Radahn, if not even harder. So great, I have those to look forward to as we summon in a trio of NPCs. And I wonder if From thought this was the main strategy for this boss. You know, you have to think, you have to wonder, because they've made this fight incredibly easy by allowing this, but they don't allow you to summon in any of the Spirits of Ash, which is funny enough, but they'll let you summon in a absolute metric fuck ton of NPCs. to help you and aid you on your quest. Which, yeah, makes, again, this fight quite easy and quite boring, I suppose some of you could even say. But he literally took a massive chunk of damage there. Blythe, the half-wolf, doing the absolute most to destroy this boss. As, again, we put that hill in between us and the boss. As we have Theorelina here, I believe, who's the healer of this fight. Who tends to stick next to the player character, as I gaze upon the sky there and wondering where the fuck this boss has gone, only to realize that, ooh, he was actually quite close to one-shotting me, so yeah. A little bit of luck is needed, but again, provided you keep your distance, you'll be fine. But yeah, how are you guys finding this fight? And those of you who've defeated this boss, did you do it legit? Did you employ the same strategy here? Because, you know, no doubt there'll be many people out there who've also found out that this is a thing that works. Or, you know, are you raging? Are you still raging about this fight in regards to how it was handled, you know? Are you sat there laughing, wondering like DNC has no idea what's in stock for him if he thinks this is hard? Let me know down in the comments below. But I've been enjoying my time with Elden Ring so far, as I go off on a tangent here. I think I want to say I'm at about 50 or so hours in. Been putting it in, you know, a couple of hours every night or so. A bit of a slow burn, though obviously during the weekend you have those extended sessions to play, which are fantastic. There's just so much content to consume in this game. It's insane. It's immense in scale. You know, the reviews for this talked about how big it was, and you thought, oh, okay, well, you know, it's fairly decently sized. But when you get into it and you see all the secret places, and especially the underground maps, and all the places that you've been through where you find a secret on your second or third visit, it's crazy, absolutely crazy to think of that, and just how everything's been designed and how well designed it is. And how complex it is as well, because the complexity adds a key factor. If they were like big open maps, which were just simple, and there was barely anything to do, you'd think, oh, whatever. But the fact that they're huge and they're so detailed and they have all these things going on them, it's a lot to take in. As Radahn here is being whittled down, as the Castellan is dead. But we're not worrying. This boss is funny, real funny. I do find it hilarious though that he he learned how to use gravitational spells to allow him to still use his favorite steed, the tiny horse that he rides around on, and, you know, not crush him because he's using his powers of gravity to not do that. But that is the boss fight. It has been me, DevilNeverCry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.